Alrighty. So I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I'm a big fan of Outsiders, and I'm excited to have you on. It was so nice to meet you in New York.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you. And so for the first part, can you please introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Absolutely. My name is Emma Pittman, and I'm playing Cherry Valance in The Outsiders on Broadway.
That's awesome. So this is your third Broadway show, correct?
That's right.
So what was the audition process like for the Outsiders compared to Back to the Future in Chicago?
Wow, they're all pretty different in a lot of different ways. For Chicago, I auditioned through a nationwide search for the next Roxy. So I sent in an audition tape and they picked 10 of their favorites. And then it was kind of like American Idol. They voted for the top three. And then the three of us got to go to New York to audition for a panel of judges. And then from there I got chosen. And from then I made my Broadway debut. So that's a like a very not normal audition process. Back to the Future was super normal. I got an audition through my agent, and I showed up to a dance call, and I got to sing a couple of times. I got called back. I got asked to sing other things. I got asked to dance a couple of other songs, and through the callback process, got a part. And so The Outsiders was similar and more similar to Back to the Future. But the thing that was very different with Danya specifically is she is a play director. And so she was like, I called her like the pioneer of truth. She was like always looking for the most real, the most grounded, the most truthful version of the story. And to find that, she actually kind of interviewed us instead of just auditioned us, which I thought was really cool. Well, we came in and like interview sounds a little bit more aggressive than what I want it to sound like. It sounds less like a job interview and more like a getting to know you. We came into the room and there was a chair. We sat down and we just talked about where I was from and why I do theater and how the outsiders came into my life and what the story means to me and my previous job experiences and yeah, we just got to know each other on a more personal level before even singing, like before even the initial audition. And that, for me at least, alleviated a lot of, you know, stresses and like any nerves that I had. I felt a lot more like, oh, okay, now she knows who I am. And now I'm just going to share this little like, other piece of myself, which is cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what got you into theater when you were younger?
I didn't start theater until I was in the ninth grade, really. I had a chance to be in a musical when I was really tiny at a community theater, like a community college when I was tiny, but I barely remember that. I remember making like one friend in that show because I was so small. And then I did one community theater experience when I was maybe 10, maybe a little younger than 10, but that was far out of town and it was hard to sustain for my parents to drive me out there. It wasn't until I got into the ninth grade, I moved schools and I went to a school that had a theater program. And I was like, oh, I listened to the Hairspray soundtrack and the Wicked soundtrack and the Rent soundtrack because my dad and mom brought it back from their trip to New York. And I was like, I could be interested in trying this out. And I auditioned for The Wizard of Oz and in the dance call, like in the initial dance audition for the Jitterbug, I remember like being so excited and obsessed with the idea of movement having an intention behind it. And that's when I realized that's what the thing that I had always loved about dance was storytelling, not just dancing. And so from then I was like, oh, I actually think I'm supposed to be doing this and not just dance.
That's awesome. And so who are some of your biggest inspirations in theater?
That's a really great question. I think because I'm late to the game when it comes to just knowing about theater at all, my like theater history is giving like I'm learning about it even still every single day. So honestly, a lot of my big inspirations are teachers of mine as well as community members who I've been able to see their work and be inspired by. So Joy Woods is like number one on the list that's coming to mind. She's so incredible. Izzy McCullough as well in Water for Elephants. I've gotten to see her for Joy, I saw her in what's that show called? With the plant? Come on now.
Oh, Little Shop of
Little Shop
Horrors.
of Horrors. Yeah. I saw her as Audrey and I was so moved by her performance. And then I got to see her in The Notebook. Again, so moved. She's just such an excellent storyteller and it's so grounded and easy and like it's like breath to her. It's so beautiful. And honestly, I feel the same way about Izzy. Izzy is such I got to see her in Hercules. I got to see her at Paper Mill. And I just got to see her recently in Water for Elephants. And the way that she is like so captivating on stage without it being like drawing focus, I find very like fascinating. And her ability to storytell again is just it's excellent. So those are the two people that are coming to mind. On top of Michelle Pock, who is a professor of mine from Wagner, but also a Tony Award-winning actress who has been in loads of shows on Broadway, off Broadway. She's done TV and film. She's also another huge inspiration for me.
That's awesome. And so, if you could choose a current Broadway show besides Outsiders, one that's currently on Broadway to be in, which show would you be in and who would you play?
That's a great question. And there have been so many like amazing Broadway shows recently. So, okay, let me think. It's so much easier. I feel like I immediately think of the shows that are around the block from me,
Yeah,
but
like
I'm trying to
the ones that are
expand.
like
I'm trying
right
to,
next door, then across.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Honestly, I would love to jump back over to Back to the Future and play Lorraine because that part has always been a part that I find so fun and so silly. And Leanna Hunt does an incredible job in that part. Um, but yeah, if I could pop over there and play that for a night, I would love that to see some of my friends and also play that. It would be a blast.
Yeah, that's good. And so, was there ever a time you doubted yourself when you were getting to where you are today? Is there ever a time where you doubted yourself and how did you overcome that doubt?
Absolutely. Like I was saying, like coming into this industry so late, it was so easy for me to be like in my head and like really down on myself for not knowing. It was kind of like there were days that I was like, is it even really possible for me to like catch up? But I think instead of I would try to do this thing where in the using the same narrative, just like switch the intention. Like I didn't know anything, but I didn't know anything. Like I had the chance to learn now. I have this like exciting opportunity to be the person that's like, hey, what is Gypsy about? Because I'd never seen that musical. Can you tell me why it's a big deal? Same with like literally anything, even if it's about a dance step or an acting style or a style of music or a composer. I was just like, I kind of owned the thing that I was maybe that could have been something that made me really insecure instead of allowing it to pull me down, which is not very easy. I'm not saying that was just like a switch in the head. It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to like allow the truth of that to be more exciting and inspiring instead of detrimental. Because at the end of the day, we all have our own hardships and we're all going to bring ourselves down and kind of struggle here and there. So it's better to lift us up from the inside.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so you performed on the Tony Awards with Outsiders. Was that your first time performing on the Tonys?
It sure was.
And so what was the process like? Because obviously it's a little different than performing on the Jacobs stage because it's a bigger theater
Mhm.
and it's cameras everywhere. So can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very, very interesting process to be a part of because, like you said, it's a completely different theater, number one, but it's also there are cameras everywhere. So we were blocking things in a way that if you were watching it from the stage, you'd be like, oh, but I can see them already, or oh, that's not really covering up those people, or whatever. But in reality, with the cameras, they can zoom in really close to somebody's face. People can come in right behind them and you still don't see them. And then they change cameras and you're like, oh my gosh, it's magic. Suddenly those people are there.
Yes.
So we thankfully had a great team of well, first of all, the camera blocking people at the Tonys are amazing. And also the Cooperman brothers have done a lot of dancing on film as well. So they already like had visions for what they wanted it to look like, how they wanted the cameras to sweep and how they wanted them to pick things up. So it was really cool to be able to watch them work, especially in a new set. I mean, it's a new setting for all of us. I mean, from not just from the actors, but also for Danya and the Cooperman brothers and everybody.
Yeah, that's good. I'd imagine it would also be a little harder to block the Rumble too because that's not the normal stage you guys are performing that on.
Yeah, and it was the first time that there has ever been rain on the Tonys. So the whole getting I mean, the Tonys did were so collaborative in wanting to make it happen because there's a world where they could have been like, no, that's way too much work. Like, I don't even know how we're gonna get that into the building and like clean it up because that's another thing is what I feel like a thing that normal viewers don't think about is like when the commercial is happening, that's the cleanup for one act into the next, right? So we had carpets that had our the like rocks on the floor is called EPDM. We had carpets that we rolled out that had that stuff on it. And then we also for just the rumble in the rain, we had this I would call it like a trough. It was basically like a raised platform that was like filled with miner's mat, which is like a type of flooring that's very squishy and has holes in it, and then all of the EPDM on top of that. And it was something that was on wheels that rolled out on top of the carpet. And that was the thing where it was going to rain. It wasn't going to rain everywhere else. It was only going to rain in that trough. It was going to catch all the water so it wouldn't get on the stage. And then they could just roll it right off. So it was just like a bunch of thinking and like extra planning and building that I feel like when you see it, you're like, oh, it's just raining like it does in the show. But like you're saying, it's a completely different theater, a completely different crew. And technically, the Rumble that we do in the Tonys is not the full Rumble as well. We made some
Yeah.
cuts to like keep the time really short. It was really fascinating. These are great questions.
And so speaking of the rain, I was thinking is like it's weird because when they announce going on tour, you think how are they gonna carry all that to different theaters? Because a lot of theaters won't allow water because it's a rental theater.
Yeah,
It's gonna be cool to see that play off.
100%. I agree.
And so, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Trust the process. I talk about I've been talking a lot about this on the vlog as well. I have my own vlog on my YouTube channel. And I know that I have a lot of young people, especially from the show, because the show is something that many young people read in school and then they come see the musical or they just heard about it because they read it in school, whatever. And I know that this show is really important to young people because I remember it being very important to me. And I think something that is exciting and inspiring about the book that I remember feeling when I read it was like, oh, I'm not by myself. Like, okay, period. Other people have felt this way. A kid, a 16-year-old girl, wrote this book and felt the way that I'm feeling right now in the middle of Mississippi, where I feel like I know that I want to go to New York City. I love that town. I loved going there. I want to do something with the arts because it's really important to me, but I don't have a lot of access to it. I don't have a lot of support in like other people also wanting to follow that dream. And if I could go back and tell Emma, like little Emma in the ninth grade, I'd be like, girlie, just trust. Okay. Even though maybe it doesn't feel good, it's tough sometimes. And and yeah, I would say trust. If you have a like gut feeling that you're supposed to be doing something or you have a dream, and sometimes, I mean, high school is hard, not to mention high school and middle school, they're tough times. Trusting that through the tough, it's going to be great.
Yeah, that's good. And so this next question kind of ties into the last one. What advice would you give to to younger performers who would like to be actors professionally?
I love this question. And I have a very like kind of lame answer, but it's like something I really, really believe is be yourself. Get to know yourself as best as you can. So like investigate things about yourself, learn about things, test yourself in areas where you may feel a little uncomfortable. Learn your boundaries of like, oh no, I like this thing and then I really don't like that thing. Because the more that you know about yourself, the more information that is for when you do a show, when you get to become a character. Parts of yourself will innately be in that or completely be the opposite of that. But the only way that you can do that is by knowing yourself. And the other thing that I add to that when I answer this question is like when you think about the greats, like the iconic theater people that you know and love, whoever they may be. Like for me, I mean, the list goes on and on. But when I think about the icons, I don't think about I don't imagine that they got there trying to be someone else. They got there because they were themselves. They were their fullest, most excited expression of themselves, and that's what we have to shoot for.
That's great. And so that wraps up the question portion. But from the three broader shows that you've been in, I have some lyrics from the shows, and we're gonna do a little guess the lyric game.
Okay, I'm excited.
All right, so we're gonna start off with Back to the Future.
Oh gosh.
Uh, and so this one is from the opening number. So uh, I don't know. I'm blanking on the title. But opening number.
Only a matter of time.
Yeah, only a matter of time. Yes.
I got you.
And so Marty says, "Come on now, future. Let's hit the turbo booster."
Buckled up without a care. Now you can take me anywhere. Bow.
Yes.
Write my future. Bam, bam. Okay, I'm glad
Yes.
you asked that one. Because that one has a lot of crazy lyrics in it. I was nervous.
Yeah, that one it has a lot of like different sections too. So,
Uh-huh.
like all over the place. And so uh this one Doc Brown sings, but female backing tracks are in it too. So you were in this one. It's blunt force charm up against your head.
Ah, ooh, that's what I sang.
Yeah, and then he says complete uniform. Yeah.
Yes.
And so this one is Chicago.
Okay, I'm
And
ready.
this one you did sing. So
Uh-oh.
and baby's bound to keep me warm. We're sticking together
And ain't we got fun?
so much
So much
together.
together. You'd count us as one.
And so the next one is also Roxy. For just some dumb mechanic's wife, I'm gonna be Roxy.
Who says that murder's not an art? Is that what's next?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I was really not sure about that one.
You were rocking this, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this next one, I feel like the fans might be a little disappointed if you don't get this one. So
Okay, okay,
uh
please.
it's from The Outsiders.
I'm
So
ready.
and you have a matinee today, right?
Yes, 3
Yeah.
p.m.
So you should get this one.
I should
Uh
definitely know this one by the time I get there.
uh let's see, why is it loading? Okay. Uh the same mistake 1,000 times.
Doing what we've all been raised to do.
Yes.
Nice. Whew. I'm ready for the show.
And so Bob, the next one Bob says, "You got cool hand Luke to keep you on tonight."
I got no more stress, nothing to worry me. No more teacher's pet or trigonometry. Yeah.
Yes. You rock that. So yeah, that wraps up the interview. I'd like to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. That was so much fun.